Hey guys, so here are the answers to the learning targets. Remember, the learning targets are going to be the questions and answers that'll be on the test, and it'll serve as your study guide. Of course, the questions are worded slightly differently, but it's going to be the same ideas. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and give you the answers, help you out with some wording on the test, and then identify which ones will be the short answer questions on the test. Number one, what is the purpose of a political party? To inform people about a party's beliefs and positions on election issues. So this underlined portion is exactly the way it'll be worded on the test. If you wrote an answer that's the same idea, just slightly different wording, that's absolutely fine. But if you would like to have the exact wording that'll be on the test, it's this underlined portion right here. Number two, what's the difference between the Republican platform and the Democratic platform? Democrats want the federal government to be more involved, so that usually includes more taxes, especially on those wealthier households and businesses, more regulations on businesses and such, and more funding for schools. Republicans want the federal government to be less involved in order to address those issues, and that usually means collecting less taxes, especially on those wealthier households, and less regulations on businesses and such. And they would rather have the state governments do more rather than the federal government doing more to address those issues. So, for example, with issues of education, they'd rather the state government did more or got to decide more on their education system. If you need more time to write that down, put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. Number three, what is a third party? A third party is anything that is not a major party. So anything that is not the Democratic or Republican Party would be considered a third party. What is a single issue party, and what's an example of one? A single issue party is a political party that has only one issue on their platform. For example, prohibition, their only issue that they were addressing was trying to ban the sale of alcohol. Number five, how do political parties help their candidates campaign for elections? There's multiple correct answers. Here are three. Encouraging party members to vote. That's exactly how it'll be worded on the test. They also help raise money to fund those candidates and their campaign. And connecting candidates with people so that way those candidates can actually hear the issues that the people would like to see addressed and how they would like to see those issues addressed. If you need more time to write this down, put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. Scrolling. Number six, what's the difference between an open and closed primary? In an open primary, anyone can vote. This includes independents. So independent voters aren't aligned with a specific party. So they really appreciate open primaries because it allows them to vote. Remember, in a primary, they're not voting for president, they're voting for the candidate they would like to represent their party in the presidential election. So not voting for the president yet. Before that election, we have these primaries, and they're choosing the candidates to run for that party. In a closed primary, only party members who are registered with that party can vote. So what's the benefit of a closed primary? It prevents the opposing party from sneaking into that primary and nominating weak candidates. We talked about this when we took notes on the Electoral College, talking about those primaries. Let's say that there's the Democratic primary where they're choosing which Democratic candidate they would like to run for the Democratic Party in the presidential election. The closed party system prevents Republicans from sneaking into that primary and choosing the weak candidate. If that weak candidate got chosen for the Democratic Party, it would make it much easier for the Republicans to win that presidential election. So a closed primary prevents that sneakiness from happening. Number eight, how do political parties act as a watchdog? They make sure the winning party doesn't abuse its power. So they're watching them, making sure they're following the rules and not abusing their power, overstepping their bounds. If you need more time to write that down, put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. Number nine, what is the purpose of the primary election? To nominate candidates. If you were to remember just one word for number nine, the word would be nominate. That's why it's bolded and underlined. All right, number 10, what is required in order to change the Electoral College? A change in the Constitution. Number 11, what is the difference between popular votes and the electoral votes? Popular votes, technically they're not choosing the president, they're choosing electors when they vote, and that happens on a Tuesday in November. It's the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, but you guys just have to remember Tuesday in November. The electoral vote is when we officially choose the president, and that's done by the Electoral College, and they vote in December. It's the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December, but you don't have to worry about that complicated piece. Number 12, what is the purpose of the popular vote in a presidential election? To choose electors. So when you vote on Tuesday, November, you're not technically choosing the president, you're choosing the electors. Those electors then take that popular vote into consideration when they cast their own votes and officially choose the president and vice president of the United States. Number 13, what is the Electoral College? It's the group that officially elects the president and vice president. Number 14, how does the Electoral College work? Each state has electors and gets a certain amount of electoral votes, and that depends on a state's population. There's a winner-takes-all system, so if you win the majority of votes in that state, you get all of the electoral votes for that state. And in order to win, you need a majority of electoral votes, which would be at least 270 electoral votes. This one is going to be a DBQ question, which means there is going to be like a picture or a map, so on and so forth, that you're going to have to use to answer questions for. This is what the DBQ will look like. It's a map of the states and how many electoral votes they get for each state. The question will kind of have you do a little bit of math, especially with this winner-takes-all system. Okay, that's why it's underlined. So we're going to kind of go over an example of what that question might say. So let's say the question is talking about the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin has 10 electoral votes. If the majority of the electoral votes were to vote for the Republican candidate would get all 10 of those votes. If the majority of them voted for the Democratic candidate would get all 10 of those votes. So for example, let's say the Republican candidate got 6 electoral votes. They would, because of that winner-takes-all system, they would actually get 10 of those electoral votes, and their opposing candidate would get 0. Same thing with the Democratic candidate. Let's say that they got 7 of those electoral votes. So 7 people in the Electoral College from Wisconsin voted for them. Because of that winner-takes-all system, they would actually get 10 electoral votes in their favor, and their opposition would get 0. So just know, because of the winner-takes-all system, if they get the majority of votes, so over half, they get all of those votes. All right, if you need more time to write that down, put the video on pause, push play when you're ready. Question 15, what does the 15th, 19th, and 26th Amendment do? The 15th Amendment allowed African Americans to vote, the 19th Amendment allowed women to vote, and the 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18 years of age. Number 16, why do we have special elections? To fill a vacancy. You guys kind of saw some of those examples when you did your notes on the special elections. There's multiple different reasons why there might be a vacancy in Congress or in the House of Representatives, and we have those special elections just to fill that vacancy, mainly because it doesn't necessarily happen consistently. It's just kind of out of the blue. It's special. All right, go ahead and put the video on pause if you need to write that down. Push play when you're ready. Number 17. This one's highlighted in red because it's going to be a short answer question. How does media attention affect a political campaign? By informing people about the issues, the candidates, and the election dates. Number 18 will be a multiple choice question. What is a political action committee? What's the purpose of a political action committee? An organization that finances candidates and influences elections, and it was created to go around the rules on individual donations, so kind of sneaky. 19 will also be a short answer question. What concern do many Americans have about the high cost of political campaigns? People worry that candidates might be more dedicated to large donors. So if they get a lot of money from a certain group of people, people worry that that candidate will then do favors for that group who paid them a lot of money that might have helped them win their election instead of doing what's best for the people. And then you can go ahead and cross off number 20. Don't tell the other classes. So people who don't have me as a teacher, because we're taking that question off the test.